All right, Nick, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. We all know this second ranked in the NFL Lions offense was great last year, but we have an exciting update about this Detroit Lions defense. I think the fans are going to love this one. I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, Detroit Lions defense early on in camp, really great updates. I think there's some good stuff brewing down in Detroit. Let's get straight into the article, and then we can talk more about this on the other side. This, of course, is from over on The Athletic, and it says, the Lions spent this offseason strategically attacking the secondary market, looking for an infusion of talent that align with how they want their quarterbacks to play and carry themselves. It led to some new faces. Carlton Davis III was acquired from the Bucks via a trade. Amik Robertson signed in free agency. Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw just drafted to be long-term answers for a passing defense that never quite matched Aaron Glenn's man-heavy preference. Credit the Lions for providing him with the horses to run his defense. They're hoping these new pieces help him compete in ways that weren't able to do a year ago. I think the new personnel, the new energy, I think they're all different in a lot of ways than a lot of guys we had last year and want to prove that, Goff said. So they've done a good job up to this point. It's only been 3 days, but it's been fun to compete against. But there's an aura about these new pieces added to this secondary, and it's not just one guy. It's a collective mindset on top of depth unseen a year ago. It's early, but so far this group is handling itself well against one of the league's better offenses. Nick, when I hear this update, I think it's really great because you hear Goff talking about it. This isn't an offense who was really great last year, going out during camp and beating up on a defense who was ranked 19th in the NFL last year. These are two units that are now competing. I think the additions they made are so good. I think it fits Aaron Glenn's style very, very well. And I think we're starting to see this Lions secondary unit morph into what we think it could be. Curious what your thoughts on that are, Nick. But before we get to you, Lions fans, in the comment section below, we're talking about a great matchup now. A Lions offense versus a much improved Lions defense. And speaking of matchups, I want to know this season with this improved defense, what team are you most likely looking to match up with this year? What matchup do you think is going to be the most exciting for the Lions this season? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. And while you're down there, check out our recommended book for this summer to help you get through to the start of the NFL season. It's none other than Playmakers by Mike Florio. A really great read. He's a great writer. Some great quips and, that cover all the ins and outs of the NFL. So while you're down there, leaving a comment, check the description below the video if you're interested in the book. Use our affiliate link. It really costs you nothing extra, but it helps us out tremendously. So check that out in the description below the video. But Nick, what are your thoughts on this latest update about Detroit?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear that the Lions have fixed their biggest problem. And last year, the biggest problem was kind of one and the same. It was the coverage on the back end of the secondary, and it was tackling in the secondary. And I've always felt that tackling when it comes to DBs and safeties, and believe, don't just take my word for it, PFF tackling and coverage, bottom 4 in the National Football League in those categories last year. So again, this is very clearly an area of weakness, and we saw it on the field in key moments in the playoffs, specifically against the 49ers. But this is an area I believe tackling specifically is more about attitude. It's demeanor. It's about want to, because we know corner safeties, they're great athletes, whether their level of talent variation you see more in like coverage and interceptions and things like that. But tackling is about attitude. It's about want to. And for some weird reason, as much as this entire Lions team, especially last year, really embraced the Dan Campbell attitude and lived it and breathed it, the secondary struggled to. And I just think they needed to make a lot of big changes, and credit to them for just completely wholesaling the defensive backfield. And the fact that Jared Goff's excited by the energy, that's palpable, because just a higher energy, a fully bought in defensive backfield means that terrible tackling grade is going to go up. And that means that big weakness for the Lions is going to really completely get eradicated, because we know Aaron Glenn wants to play that man defense like the reports alluded to. But if you can't tackle in man-to-man coverage, it's just going to be a debacle, right? It kind of forces you out of it, forces you at times to switch to zone, which allows teams to dink it and dunk it on you, and then your coverage grades goes down. Like, it's a vicious cycle. If you can't tackle, you got to play soft zones so that way you don't have any man coverage breakdowns, and then it forces and allows teams, excuse me, to just slice and dice you to death, right? And I think we saw that specifically in the second half of the 49ers loss in the NFC Championship game. Lions missed some T tackles. Aaron Glenn feels like he has to switch to some zone coverage. Brock Purdy and the 49ers are able to move the football and start running the ball, right? That's really what the Lions did on defense the second half of that game. Having a better attitude and demeanor, plus some quality football players added to the mix as well, will solve the tackling problem. If you can tackle really well, you can be much more aggressive in your coverages, which will bring your coverage grade up as well. I think it's going to be a two-headed attack right here. I think it's really going to be a huge jump on this Lions defense. They were really good against the run, really good pass rushing, mainly because of Hutchinson, but overall, I think it's an improved group up front. I think they got some young guys. They're going to make a name for themselves. Of course, they added a couple key players up front too. I think this Lions defense, while it doesn't get the fanfare of the offense, with this defensive backfield, with renewed energy, with renewed excitement, I think they have a chance to have a surprisingly good impact for this team going into 2024. And if this can last, if this can sustain, which if you listen to Jared Goff, smart guy, he knows this, it sounds like it can, this Lions team will be a lot better than people expect. And they already expect them to be pretty good.
Yeah, Nick, and you bring up, the stats that kind of back up the points that you brought up, and I'm going to bring a different aspect here. Let's just talk about the play on the field so far in training camp. It covers everything you say. You say they're better at tackling. One thing we've seen from the early team periods, no explosive plays allowed whatsoever. The ball comes out, they're taken down immediately. This is a unit that's really getting on top of guys. No explosive plays allowed, which, I mean, it's early on, but you love to see what you can see. So I think that's great news for this Detroit defense. Then get into the red zone period. We're talking about 7-on-7s, just taking shots at the end zone, trying to score. In 4 red zone attempts, the Lions and Jared Goff, the second best offense in the league, only scored 1 touchdown. Forced incompletion, a pass breakup by Carlton Davis, another pass breakup, really great coverage by Malif Onwu. He did a great job on Sam Laporta. Then they get 1 touchdown at the very end. So I think 1 out of 4 showing this Lions defense is really improving. They're starting to get their chops up and get a better handle on this Lions offense, which I think is going to be good, because if you can handle the Lions offense, you can handle pretty much most of the offenses throughout the NFL as of last year. This was a really tough offense to slow down, to stop. So I'm liking what we're seeing so far from this newly revamped Detroit secondary and defense as a whole. I think the style that Aaron Glenn is now able to go out and implement is going to be a whole lot better, and I'm excited to see how much more they improve throughout camp.